Hello, this is the consultant, and I am going to commentate the my All Dungeons No SRM PB in 124.47. To start off with, we're skipping the intro, bit of a controversial topic in Ocarina of Time, but essentially we make a save file that is starting from Link's house so that we can skip watching the intro. So yeah, here you're gonna see me do some specific rupee collecting to get 35 rupees. What this allows us to do is to get 2 sticks and some nuts, which are going to be important for basically this one thing called Castle Before Night. We need those 2 sticks, one for a waterfall extended super slide, which will allow us to get to the castle before night, get to Kakariko Village to get the bottle and choose, and get to the castle before night. What this allows us to do is to not have to clip into the market's bazaar shop to get the Hylian shield for when we turn adults. And then, in addition to Castle Before Night, we need a stick and nuts, specifically for blank A, which is one of the many ways you can get choose in this game. Blank A is a 1.0 version exclusive. It's one of the 2 version exclusive tricks you'll see in this run. There are now other ways to do bottom of the well choose. You can do Corpse Push, which is a fairly recent addition to the game, or you can do Ocarina Dive, which takes a little longer than Blank A because you have to have Sword, Shield, and Ocarina. Or I guess you don't need Sword, but you need Shield and Ocarina, and usually the way to escape the forest involves getting Sword. So here you'll see one of the many ways of escaping Kokiri Forest, skipping the Ocarina cutscene in this instance. You'll see me attempt a Aqua escape with stick. You'll see I get my position a little bit messed up there. Essentially what this is doing is you're clipping into this stone construction, and that overlaps with the water, which enables you to swim to the loading zone of Zora River. Now here you'll see me do some very specific movement to maximize my chances of getting Castle Before Night. The movement here is very tight. Because not only do you have to get through the river here, but you also have to collect this red rupee so that you can get enough money for the Hylian shield. And as you can see, I do a specific camera manipulation and get that red rupee right there. So yeah, what you're about to see here is a 0 speed entrance into Hylian Field. So I can set up my Wes a little bit better. And you'll see here with the Wes, I go to the right of the sign, and I also don't rub up against the wall. That's very important for saving a couple of frames in terms of the Wes. Now what you're gonna see here is some Cucco collection. This is, one of those resident sleepers for some watchers of Ocarina of Time speedruns. But what's interesting here is I am using nut strats, because I luckily have nuts. So you'll see me use the nuts to move the Cuccos in specific ways. So you'll see a nut right now, and usually you have to go a little further back for that specific Cucco that I just nutted, but you really can get it a little bit closer with a nut. And you'll see here, usually without nuts you throw these to the left, but with these, you throw them a little bit to the up left and nut them. So again, nothing much talk about in terms of Keko Collection. What I do find interesting to talk about is the version differences in terms of the game. So currently, the world record is on Wii Virtual Console, and I am playing this on N64. What difference this makes is that you can play N64 on 1.0, whereas the only legal speedrun version is 1.2 for the Wii Virtual Console. And this means there's some version-exclusive glitches, specifically a trick to get the eyeball frog early from King Zora by holding R. And this enables us to credits warp to the game much more easily, whereas VC has to pretty much get Roar's Wind on B and Magic, which means they have to get ZL, Zelda's Lullaby. So very different routes for Wii Virtual Console and N64. And again, technically people think that N64 could be faster, but there has been some debate. So by the way, this is a Navi dive. Basically, you cutscene dive into bottom of the well so that you can get to bottom of the well early with that Song of Storms. This is blank A, and you'll see I fail it the first time. But essentially, using a nut as you're about to enter the crawl space on 1.0 only makes your collision just non-existent, so you can just jump slash into that corner and do a little swim to get choose. And early explosives is very important in Ocarina of Time speedrunning. You'll see almost all speedruns start out with some form of early explosives. Now you'll see I save warp, and it's time to get to Castle. You'll notice that I do a bit of a movement here to set up my angle for the backwalk. Just a small optimization, but small optimizations add up. As you can see, I have the perfect angle to backwalk all the way to Hyrule Field. So yeah, as I was saying before, Castle Before Night is very tight. So you'll see me try to get a good angle to walk across the bridge here, and skip the owl cutscene, of course, with stick, and immediately backwalk, and I'll be jumping up the chains very fast to get some red rupees, and then I'll be on my way. And so, yeah, once we have Bottle and Choose, we pretty much have all we need to go adult. We'll use Bottle for numerous things in this run. Lots of cutscene skips, and then one specific RBA, Reverse Bottle Adventure, which essentially just lets us right into our inventory. And the only thing we really use it for is getting more Choose, because we only start out with 10, and we want to have a lot more Choose. In the VC route, you'll see RBA used a lot more for not only RBAing Bomb Bag, but also RBAing songs into your inventory. Specifically Zelda's Lullaby, which allows you to get magic, and some warp songs, which just allow you to get around the map faster. So I messed this up a little bit, lost a lot of time here. But essentially, this is dot skip, Door of Time skip. You can skip collecting the first 3 spiritual stones for the first 3 dungeons. And if you get a specific angle, you can clip through this door using a backwards side hop, which is frame perfect. And basically after the backwards side hop, you have to do what's called, I think, a gainer, where you target the kind of the edge of the door inside out of bounds, and then hold left a couple of frames afterwards. If you hold left a little bit too soon, you'll get crushed by the door, so it has to be a few frames afterwards. Door of Time Skip is one of those tricks where, you know, you can try it a few times and fail it, but eventually you'll get it. But definitely a lot of time loss here. I'll say that in a lot of my runs that I do, you know, after this run, of course, I sometimes save up to a minute in this split just because of how much time I lost here. But I'll say that a lot of this run, minus a few things, was pretty clean. So, yeah, so here we're just watching the Master Sword cutscene, the Rauru cutscene where he gives you the light medallion. Nothing much to talk about here. So, yeah, I would say that let's kind of go over like the route. So essentially, you get Bomb Chews, you get Chew, you get Bottle, you go straight adult, and then you pretty much just complete all the dungeons from there, like the name. In VC, Virtual Console, you have to do the Bigoron Sword Trade Quest, where you collect a couple of items in RBA, and it's around 30 minutes when you really start like doing the dungeons, I would think, in Virtual Console. Don't quote me on that, but it takes around 20-30 minutes, whereas you'll see my hover boots split. You know, I'm already in Shadow Temple. If you know this game, you'll know you get hover boots from Shadow Temple. I'm already in Shadow Temple around the 20-minute mark. So you do all the dungeons. You get some warp songs like Minuet and Bolero. And then towards the end of the run, you specifically get Eyeball Frog, and you freeze the timer with the Eyeball Frog. If you know this game, you'll know that you have to bring the Eyeball Frog to the laboratory scientist in the Lake Hylia lab to get the eye drops for Bigoron. But here we freeze the timer so that pretty much when we die in the Fire Temple warp, we are able to warp immediately to the credits, because essentially the location it's trying to bring you to, it's kind of adding that to the cutscene that the Fire Temple warp is trying to bring you to, and so that brings you to the credits. I'm not someone who understands these things as well as others might, but that's like the gist of it. So yeah, as a result, we have Fire Temple at the very end of the run, and we have Jabu kind of second to last in the run because you can freeze the timer quite easily in Jabu, whereas in other places there might not be as many setups to clip out of bounds and freeze the timer. And you'll see that in about an hour. So yeah, right now the world record is VC, but not a lot of people have pushed N64 in quite some time. There's not a lot of active N64 runners. So I'm hoping to, even though I have a lot of real life commitments, I'm hoping to kind of push this time to someday, you know, within the next year or two, get to sub 120 and then work on getting that lower and lower. This is a very different speed run from GSR, if you're familiar with GSR, from last pace, because it doesn't have as many cutscenes. GSR is like 50% cutscenes. And this pretty much just has Master Sword cutscene, and like that's it. Like everything else is like skipped for the most part. So here you'll see me go directly to CAC. We're going to get some stuff that we need. We're going to get the hook shot. We're going to RBA choose. And we are going to complete Shadow. So here, I tried to do a setup for a double chew Hess, but kind of biffed the backflip. So I'm just going to do a regular Hess here. Hyperextended super slide basically means you roll into a damage source, and ooh, I guess I get a little stubborn here. You roll into a damage source, and you hold ESS position, which is a little bit past the dead zone, which allows you to kind of preserve your momentum as you get pushed back by the bomb or the bomb chew, so that you are constantly moving back as long as you hold that ESS position. So you'll see eventually I did that off that sign. Here I'm going to do what's called an RBA. I want the 2 RBAs in the run. So essentially, I'm not going to go into everything about RBA because you can watch a video by Danny B on that, and that will be much better. But essentially, we're getting a bottle on B somehow by tricking the game into thinking that our last press button was B while we have bottle in our hands, so that we write over the B slot. And that allows us to write things into our inventory. I haven't written anything into my inventory specifically yet, but I will get a PO on C right, which allows me to get 29 chews if I RBA, if I pick up bugs on B. You can RBA many things in this game, like trade items. You can pretty much RBA anything, although sometimes it just like makes a bottle over your slot. You'll see here that I'm getting the hook shot in the Dampe race. 50, not a bad time, not a great time, but works out. You'll see me go through some of this text. And yeah, so once we have the hook shot, we are able to do what's called a hook shot jump to get into Shadow. Basically, you can roll against, bonk into a wall and get this kind of weird glitchy state where if you press hook shot, you'll like jump up in the air. And here we're voiding so that we get back to Graveyard. You'll see me equip hookshot. Then you'll see me kill this Poe. Because as I said before, RBAing Poe on C right and dropping bugs or picking up bugs will manipulate the bomb chew amount in your inventory. So here specifically I'm going to drop bugs and pick them up. To give me a nice cushy 29 chews. It's technically faster in this double RBA route that I'm doing to just simply drop bugs, which is now what I'm doing. It saves probably 6 seconds, I think. Just because you save the time of like picking up those bugs again and the cutscene for picking up bugs in the text. You'll see I just did a glitch called hookshot jump, which is what I mentioned before, to kind of jump up here. And then I used ISG. I interrupted my crouch stab with something so that the game thinks I'm slashing my sword so that I don't fall. Because that's very useful in not falling out of bounds on that specific place I jumped up towards. Now I'm going to do Shadow Temple. So basically, I'm going to get the hover boots, and if you've ever seen the actual temple, we're going to skip like pretty much all of it, because a couple of years ago, boat skip was found, and then further iterations were done on it, so that we could just pretty much, after getting hover boots, skip the entire thing. So you'll see I'm going to jump slash into the hand, and then if I jump slash him while he's walking away, I can pretty much guarantee a 1 cycle on dead hand, which I do. So now you'll see I get the hover boots. And what we're about to do is what's called a triple slash clip. This was found just a few years ago. This allows us to save a chew, and technically saves 2 seconds. So now we're basically in the unloaded version of the room before Bongo. And what you'll see here is I'm doing a boss key skip that involves a nut and a chew to make the chew explode, and then ledge clipping into the platform here to be kind of hit into the loading zone for the boss. Now we're at Bongo, and that was actually very clean. There's a new method of doing the boss key skip that allows you to buffer the nut throw on that, but it hadn't been made in a YouTube video by Arthur Houdini yet. Shoutouts to Arthur Houdini. And you'll see us make very quick work of this boss. So we get ISG, and this is used for something a little different. It's used for what you would think ISG would be used for. It's used to damage a boss. And you'll notice that we jump slashed to store the damage value for when we crouch stabbed. Because crouch stabs in this game take the value of the last attack you did. Or 1 damage if you didn't do an attack before that in the current loading zone. So we make quick work of this boss, and you'll notice that I caught bugs in a bottle, or rather I dropped bugs from the bottle and picked them up again. This is going to be used to do a glitch called Ocarina items, where you can backflip and press bottle and then another item like sword to play Ocarina. This allows us to kind of be in the blue warp, but still have control of Link after we've triggered the blue warp. This allows us to kind of manipulate our position in a way so that we die and get the medallion that we usually get from Shadow Temple by watching the cutscene without actually watching the cutscene. You'll see me do another Hess here. And you'll see me do another Hess here as well. If I succeed at it. Let's see if I succeed at it. And so it looks like I succeeded at it, but then I kind of let go of S position. But that was what's called a double chew Hess. That was one of 2 double chew Hesses in this route. But basically you drop a chew, and then you drop a chew very, very soon after, pretty much like a frame after. And then you can make the chews explode immediately so that you can Hess. Here I'm getting the Pocket Cuckoo egg. This is important because we're gonna need some sort of item in the adult trade slots to get Eyeball Frog later. We're gonna need to start the trade quest so that we can skip the trade quest, essentially. Here, you're gonna see I'm selling bugs to the beggar so I can get 50 and buy fairy for actually another hookshot jump. Except this hookshot jump, we're actually going to not use that. We're not going to use the glitchy bonk animation, and we're actually going to die and get, at the same time we hookshot a ladder, so that we kind of get thrown up to the top of DC, skip all of Dodongo's Cavern, and get bombs really quickly. You see me fail a Hess there. Just bleeding time as always. No worries, we can backwalk. So, yeah, you'll see early explosives early choose allows us to do a lot of things. It allowed us to beat Shadow, and it's allowing us to get bombs really early without the Goron bracelet. Dot skip allows us to do this as adult so that we can do this hookshot jump trick that we're about to do. You'll notice I'm damaging down so that I die for the hookshot jump. You'll also notice that I'm dropping choose here so that I open the eyes, open this little mouth of the Dodongo's Cavern, so that later I can actually beat Dodongo's Cavern, but we're gonna take 2 trips, you'll see. And here, I buffer to the specific frame, and I die on the same frame that I'm hookshotting the ladder from the lava, and then I get revived so that I can still get bombs. So, yep, we're getting bombs. And now we're going to get a few warp songs. Basically, setting up some other dungeons, Fire and Forest, so that we can go back to them at a later point. You'll see here, I am going to damage down for the Bolero cutscene skip. If you die while entering a cutscene, a lot of the time you can skip it in Ocarina of Time, so that's exactly what we're going to do. Here's another Hess, just to get up this trail fast. And... ooh, looks like I let go of it. And what you're about to see here is a Mega Flip. So typically here you have to talk to the Rolling Goron and blow him up with explosives. The Link Goron, named after you by Darunia, Darunia's son. But you can use a Mega Flip, which I'm actually doing a double true Mega Flip, which saves frames. And then I clip into this out of bounds area with hover boots. And I skip talking to the Goron entirely. And skipping talking to the Goron saves about a minute, but it means we have to go through Fire Temple without Tunic, which is a little hard. So you'll see I'm going to hookshot the bridge here, and then I'm going to take damage from a Chew as I go into the cutscene, skipping the Bolero CS, but still getting Bolero of Fire, so that we can play it later with Ocarina items, because we didn't get Ocarina, mind you, to get the Fire Temple dungeon done. So here we'll see me doing another Hess. Note that you can do Deathless Bolero there, but it's a little harder, and it also just makes your health not as well set up for this next segment. Here, actually, we're going to do another RBA. This is specific to this route. where we do some things like the double chew hesses and double chew mega flip, as well as fight Volvagia in Fire Temple with chews instead of bombs. It is supposed to save around 10 seconds. I don't think I saved that time, personally. You'll see I'm also RBing nuts because I wasted a nut with blank A. So I'm losing a little time here. RBing with fish on C right allows you to get nuts in your inventory. So there I just did a mega flip over Mido. Typically you need Saria's Song to get past him, but I just kind of mega flip over him. You can also do a back flip over him, but the mega flip is faster. That's what is called a ground jump, to make it so I can pretty much skip this entire maze. Basically you shield, you get damaged by something and grab at the same time, so that Link gets this weird animation where he can kind of jump up. And here, I'm also skipping the minuet cutscene, but this time, in order to save time, I'm clipping out of bounds and voiding as I hit the cutscene out of bounds for minuet. So here, you're going to see a Deku Tree entrance as adult. So typically you can't enter the Deku Tree as adults, but because the mouth is closed. But if you get up on top of this alcove right here, which I'm about to do with a hyperextended super slide, you'll see that if I do specific movements, the area around the Deku Tree is unloaded. Since it's unloaded, the door is unloaded, and I can just super slide in. So now we're going to beat our second dungeon. Now, typically, you'll get the slingshot, and you'll, go through the entire dungeon. You'll have to climb to the top to break the web on the bottom. And then you'll have to do all this stuff. We're not doing any of that. We're not even doing a 2-3-1. You'll see I attempted to do a bomb chew mega flip where I blew up the bomb by using a chew. But I'm just going to opt to, as a backup, do a regular bomb mega flip. And I'm going to clip into the out of bounds area in Deku Tree and go right on the loading zone with hover boots. So the loading zone for the boss, mind you. And so now we're going to fight Goma. And what's coming up is actually what is the first instance of a wrong warp. This is a famous Ocarina of Time glitch. Essentially, we're going to do something similar to that Shadow cutscene skip, but because Deku Tree gives you a cutscene, it adds a value to your current location to get you somewhere. And we're going to manipulate that value by dying on certain frames of a bomb explosion. You'll see I also killed Goma with one nut. That's a 2-frame window to crouch stab 3 times. So you see we're doing Ocarina items. We don't have any lava to die with, like Shadow Temple, so we're going to drop a bomb and backflip on a specific bomb frame. There's 2 frames to backflip on. And we are going to do a wrong warp. Where to, you ask? Well, we're taking a second trip to the second child dungeon. from the first child dungeon. This is a wrong warp that isn't used pretty much in any other speedrun in Ocarina of Time, but it is convenient for here. Mostly because we have to, after getting bombs, in DC, we kind of want to take a trip to get Minuet and Bolero, and then we can kind of circle back after doing Deku. So here, you're going to see me skip pushing the block onto this switch by triggering Navi text on the keys and hitting the blue switch at the same time. So I can pretty much skip pushing the block. You're going to see us collect some bombs. And you'll see that we pretty much just make quick work of King Dodongo. We're not going to get the heart container. Heart containers are slow. We need to die for cutscene skips. You'll note that a 2 jump slashes with Master Sword kills King Dodongo. I think it's 3 jump slashes with Kokiri Sword, so definitely can make quick work of this boss with Adult Link. You'll notice we're going to take damage from the lava for King Dodongo. It's nice that they put this lava here, so that we can set up for another wrong warp. This time, we're going to wrong warp to Gerudo Training Grounds. And that is pretty close to Spirit, so we can head on to Spirit Temple. Again, this run is very fast-paced. It's just kind of dungeon after dungeon. You're pretty much just like skipping to the end of all the dungeons, and then skipping the blue warp cutscenes by either wrong warping or just doing a CS skip. And this is pretty much what I did with the Deku Tree wrong warp. It takes me a little bit, but I want to get to the second frame of this second fast red flash, and then I'm putting on hover boots because what I'm about to do once I wrong warp to Gerudo Training Grounds is I want to skip the Gerudo Fortress Gate. So typically you have to beat the 4 Carpenters to be able to talk to the Gerudo Guard without getting caught. But we can just skip that by doing what I'm about to do right now. So, if you have hookshot, you get put here inside the fortress prison. And you'll see I can do a little clip up here into this weird little area. I can do a little bit of a side roll to get onto this specific platform, and then I can use hover boots to do a kind of precise roll, side hop, jump slash to get onto this out of bounds area and jump slash past the Gerudo Gate, so I don't even have to defeat the Carpenters. There's numerous ways of doing that in GSR. You probably saw a different way, but that is the fastest way from getting caught from Gerudo Training Grounds. This is what's known as the Wasteland Hess. You'll notice that you can get voided out here very easily, so you have to kind of shift from ESS position left or right, slightly beyond the dead zone, again and again to make a specific movement across the wasteland. So you'll see I do that successfully here. And now we're pretty much near Spirit. And what I'll be doing here is I'll be hessing towards the temple. because that's faster than backwalking. Backwalking is also pretty fast, but not as fast as this. You'll see sometimes people do a super slide here, but I opt for the Hess. Now we're going to do what's called the Spirit Hover. In GSR, you'll note that we have a lot more limited chews because RBA is not allowed to increase your chew amount. But here we can do them all with chews, which is a lot faster and a lot easier. Because bomb hovers are, you kind of have to wait for them and Link's breathing. And they can be a little finicky at times. But here, we just do a chew hover. And then we backflip on this seam, do a little seam walk. And then we hookshot up to Silver Gauntlets. So we're basically skipping going through the entire temple. So you'll see me attempt a Hess here, and then opt to do a super slide, which is grabbing a bomb at the same time that I'm getting damaged by a bomb. And then we can do a little hover slide here using our speed that we got from the super slide and kind of keeping it going a little longer with the hover boots in the air. And now we have Mirror Shield, so we've pretty much skipped all of Spirit Temple that it takes to get the Mirror Shield. Now we just have to backtrack to the middle room where we'll be doing a boss key skip. So we gotta defeat the Iron Knuckle. Crotch stabs, after doing a jump slash, make this relatively trivial. So yeah, there's definitely not a boss key skip that's closer than kind of traversing through some of the temple. If there was, it'd save a lot of time, but this is what we got. There is a super slide that you can do that a Valiant Link used to do, but it is technically slower than what we're about to do here, which is a Hover Boots boss key skip. This is pretty typical. You'll see it in GSR. After the Spirit Hover, you'll see us collect bombs from the Armos. I only got one, Sag. And you'll see that I'm going to kill these enemies, don't know what they're called, sorry, by doing specific movement to get them on the flame. This pot keeps on giving you bombs as long as you don't collect the bombs that you got from it. So there's also a bomb pot like that in Dodongo's Cavern. Okay, so here what I'm about to do is statue climb. This was found decently recently, like maybe a couple years ago. And we're going to use a bomb to kind of clip us out of bounds, get on top of this part of the statue. We're going to use precise movement and a shield scoop to get us on top of that little platform. Then we're going to do a backflip on a specific frame to clip into the head and walk with hover boots to the loading zone for Nibiru. Now, you'll see here that we're going to fight Nibiru with crouch stabs like we did with the other Iron Knuckle. First by storing a jump slash, then with crouch stabs. You'll see me attempt a cutscene skip, and the cutscene skip saves about a minute. I fail it here, but essentially you can void as Nibiru dies, so that Nibiru still dies, but you pretty much don't watch any of that cutscene of her realizing that she was hypnotized by the witches, and the witches going back to their little room in the back. So yeah, there used to be an old way of doing this that involved using a hookshot clip, but this is a newer method that involves getting a glitchy ledge grab on top of that little, I guess, pentagon sort of shape with the moon and sickle, or the moon and star. As you can see, I didn't get it here, but this skip specifically saves 3 seconds over the hookshot clip that we used to do. And so here, you're going to see I just watched the cutscene, and then we're going to fight Twin Rova. This is the sole reason why we got the Mirror Shield and Spirit Hovered. You'll see I have to damage down. That's what's also nice about the void that you get from the Nibiru's cutscene skip, because you are already damaged down a lot for the cutscene skip that we're about to do for Spirit. You'll see a lot of text coming from Nibiru. We're pretty much going to fight the first phase of Twin Rova casually, or close to casually. You'll see me using the hook shot to kind of put them in place when I don't want them to move, when they're at a good position for me to kind of reflect one of their beams at the other. But pretty standard overall, especially if you've watched a lot of randomizers. You'll see me use another bomb for getting down to half a heart, which is what we need for the cutscene skip. Looks like Twin Rova being kind to us. You'll see I use the hookshot there a little to put one into place a little bit. Sometimes you'll get what's called a double, where the one shooting the beam will stay where it was and shoots another beam. I don't think I get one in this run specifically, but that saves a decent chunk of time because them moving around a lot is pretty slow. So it takes about 4 successful shots to get to the second phase of Twin Rova. And the second phase goes pretty quickly. So the way the second phase works is the first 3 shots that the, combined sisters shoot is always going to be one of fire or ice. And if you've played this game, you know that you need 3 of those charges in your mirror shield in order to reflect that back at her. So you'll see me jump on the platform to reflect it back at her, and use the jump slash that I stored earlier to crotch stab her to death in 1 cycle. And we're going to wait for the Twin Rova cutscene to end. And then we are going to do another cutscene skip. Again, this run is just like cutscene, wrong warp after cutscene skip after wrong warp after cutscene skip. I swear, it's just like agonizing listening to these witches kvetch whine at each other. Kvetch is Yiddish for wine, while we wait to do the cutscene skip. It's agonizing. I'll also note there that in the second phase we got ice, which is a little faster than fire because it's not as laggy. VC doesn't have that problem. So you'll see us pick up a fish and do specific movement with some ESS and Ocarina items onto the warp and do a slash and pick up a bomb and kind of, you know, get teleported around, flying up into the air because we hit the blue warp, but dying in a specific way so that we skip the cutscene but still get the medallion. You'll know that you get the medallion if you've done a cutscene skip, if you have that white flash. So now we're gonna do our first Ocarina items to play Warp Song. And that Warp Song is going to be Minuet. And we are pretty much going to skip to the end of Forest as well. There's not a lot of going through the temple in Forest. So in GSR, you need the bow to fight Ganondorf, right? So in GSR, you need to get the bow and go through the temple. But here, there is a little area we can clip that is right above the loading zone for the boss, Phantom Ganon, and we can just get there. And because we don't even need bow for Phantom Ganon, we can just use hookshot. And that's what's so satisfying about this run, just getting to the end. So here, I am going to do a Bosky skip, a very safe Bosky skip. Some specific movement to get on top of here and do a ledge clip. And then back walk to fall into the loading zone. You'll notice that I have 3 hearts. And I'll want to take damage to get down to half a heart. Again, deja vu from previous cutscene skips. And yeah, luckily, Phantom Ganon shoots lightning at you if he comes out of the paintings and you don't hit him fast enough. So what we're going to try to do, which I think I succeed at doing, is we're going to try to get hit by the lightning and immediately hookshot him. Which I successfully do. Definitely lose some time if you get hit by the lightning and you don't hookshot him successfully, because then you have to hookshot him 3 more times as opposed to 2. You'll see I also got ISG by interrupting my crotch stab with grabbing a bomb. This is very useful for just pretty much cleaning up this boss. So you'll see I kind of stand with my left shoulder below his left leg. Then I turn to the right with my hookshot and just defeat him with infinite sword glitch very fast. So yeah, after Forest, we're going to do a little overworld travel. We don't have Serenade like Wii Virtual Console does, because Wii Virtual Console RBA saw to get Serenade. So we're going to have to walk all the way to water. Luckily, that's why we're doing Forest and then water, because it's probably the fastest to go from Forest to water. It might be kind of fast to do it from fire as well. No, because then you'd have to play Bolero, and Ocarina Items is slower, so forget I said that. you'll see I am pulling a bomb on a specific frame of me canceling the Ocarina items. And you'll see pause buffering in N64 is a little painful at times. But I essentially want to backflip on a specific frame so that my movement gets manipulated in a way and I die in a way that skips the cutscene and I get the medallion. And so as I said before, we're going to walk to water from forest. This is kind of where routes change a little bit. So in actually the world record for N64, Zudu's route, you actually get the eyeball frog before going to water. Because if you get the eyeball frog, and you'll see I triggered the cutscene here, unfortunate. If you get the eyeball frog, you can get the heart in Water Temple and skip the cutscene of Water Temple fairly easily. Pretty much like expiring the timer as you get into the blue warp. But here I'm doing a 4-heart route, which is a lot more unforgiving in fire, because, you know, the less hearts you have in this game, the less time you have on the heat timer to get through Fire Temple. But it saves a decent chunk of time to just do a Death CS skip in Water Temple and not get the heart. You'll see here I do a little bit of a clip there, a ladder clip, and then I'm going to do some specific out-of-bounds shenanigans to swim to the loading zone that is here that you normally can't access because it's frozen. And so I'm getting to Lake Hylia fairly quickly. Lake Hylia is where Water Temple is. So now we're going to... There's a couple of different ways to get into Water Temple. Obviously, we don't have iron boots, so we're going to have to clip in to Water Temple. And you're going to see me do a specific setup on this stone here. And looks like I failed the setup a little bit. And this setup is pretty lenient. It has like 4 frames to jump slash. But you can make it less frames if you do stuff like mess up your position with side hops. What I didn't know before this run is that doing flick side hops, flicking your control stick for the side hops, can make you move a little bit. So for this, you typically want to hold in a specific direction. So as you can see, I get this ground clip a second time and swim into Water Temple. Now, we don't have long shot, but what we're going to do to get to the boss room of Morpha in Water Temple is we're going to do a hover slide with a Hess, similar to what we did to get to Mirror Shield. And then we're going to do a boss key skip. This boss key skip is also a ground clip. It's done using bombs. And we're going to hover up with bombs, and we're going to press sword on a specific frame of the bomb to clip into the door. Now you'll see we do pretty quick work of Morpha here. And again, in the 5-heart route, which is the one that Zudu did, you would typically see a timer here for Eyeball Frog, which makes this part a little stressful sometimes, especially for beginning runners who might mess up a lot of stuff, right? But here we're just going to beat Morpha, take as much time as we want. And what we're going to do is we're going to hookshot Morpha. We're going to take damage from these spikes that are conveniently here so that we can do the CS skip for the 4-heart route. Note that we can't grab the heart with Death CS skip, because that would make it... We could, but then we'd have to, like, climb up again to damage down from 4 hearts. It'd just be slower overall. So, as you saw there, we pretty much got Morpha hookshotted and then manipulated her to be all the way in the corner using hookshot so that we could basically keep on stabbing her repeatedly and while she was stuck in the corner. You'll see that in randos as well as a strat. Completely glitchless strat. And here is pretty standard. You'll see a Ocarina items and a cutscene skip. And so what's next in the route is going to Jabu, or going to get the Eyeball Frog and then going to Jabu. And so we're going to be doing Jabu on a timer, and we will want to stop the timer as soon as it hits 0. We want to freeze it, pretty much. And you'll see us void out in Jabu to do that. Here, you'll see I'm going to collect some bombs for safety and attempt to do a Mega Flip into Zora's domain. So that's what loses a bit of time over the 5-heart route, is when you do the cutscene skip for water with the Eyeball Frog, with a timer expiring, you go directly to King Zora, because that's where you go when the timer expires on the Eyeball Frog. So you can turn in the prescription and get the Eyeball Frog again, right? But here we kind of have to backtrack a little bit. And you'll notice that I'm going to fail this a few times. Buffering on N64 is a little bit hard, especially in certain areas. And it looks like I rolled a little bit late on here, so I'm not going to get the Mega Flip. So the way Mega Flips work is you want specific frames of the bomb, and you also want to backflip as you get pushed back by the bomb so that you backflip farther. And you'll see I buffer a few frames, and I have to set it up again. There is a super slide here that might be faster. It's a super slide teleport, but I opted to do this. And you'll see I eventually get this. And you'll wonder, how are we getting the Eyeball Frog when we only have the Cucco? and King Zora is frozen, well, by taking out a cutscene item while we walk up those stairs, and then walking back down and walking back up, we can unfreeze King Zora. And by holding R while talking to King Zora, only on 1.0, which is only allowed for N64, we get the Eyeball Frog, skipping a lot of the trade quest. You'll notice I did a lot of timer stops here. So in the game, if you use a cutscene item, you actually skip. The timer can't run while you use that cutscene item. So you'll see me doing that a lot while jumping, because I don't get the text for the Eyeball Frog while I jump and use it. Here I'm going to do what's called a forward mega side hop, similar to mega flip, but this makes it so that we can go into Jabu. Speaking of which, Jabu isn't here. King Jabu Jabu isn't here as adult, but the loading zone is. So we can do a specific mega side hop with a specific jump slash to clip into the iceberg, into the loading zone, to get to Jabu. That was a pretty cool trick. Here, unfortunately, we can't really skip to the boss. We can get to the boss fairly quickly, but we wouldn't be able to beat the boss because you can only beat the boss with Boomerang. There is quick put away that I believe maybe has Boomerang damage, but it doesn't work for some reason here. So as a result, we have to get Rudo and do the Rudo carrying quest, because the only way pretty much to get to that room with the Boomerang without Rudo is SRM, and this is All Dungeons No SRM. So we don't really have a good way of warping to that room. So we have to carry Rudo so that we can stand on top of the yellow switch that opens the room with Boomerang. So not much to talk about here. You'll notice that the timer is still ticking. There's definitely some backups in terms of where different places you can freeze the timer. But we want to be freezing the timer as close as possible to the end of the timer. And you'll see I'm going to do some timer stops right here. You also notice that as Adult Link, I was able to skip that switch that you go on to raise the water as child, because I can just climb that ledge in that middle room. So just little things like that make Adult Link a little bit better for dungeons, you know? Like, in DC, you could skip pushing the block with a Navi text trick. In Deku, you could skip straight towards the end. You can skip pushing the block in DC with Ocarina items as child, but it's a lot tighter and a lot harder. You can skip towards the end of Deku with Bomb Chews as child, but it's a lot harder. And also, you typically don't have Chews when you're in Deku as child, because it's usually early on in a run. So anyways, getting back to the gameplay at hand, we are getting the Boomerang. And now we can just pretty much go straight to the boss. you'll see in 100% we have For's Wind so that we can warp back to that second room. But here we just have to walk. You'll notice I'm targeting for a lag reduction. There's a lot of lag in N64. Target reduces the lag. And then with hover boots as adult, you can pretty much skip all of the tentacle fighting that you usually have to do and Big Octo fighting that you have to do. So you'll see I flubbed doing stepping on the switch there, but essentially what I'm gonna do is skip putting the box on top of that blue switch and open the door on a specific frame after rolling. You'll see also that I am doing a quip swap here. This is what makes this route possible, pretty much. A quip swap, you basically you are able to equip a child item as adult so that we can use Boomerang as adult, even though typically you aren't able to do that with some smart menu manipulation. I'll just put it like that. And you'll see there that we just froze the timer pretty much by voiding out with a chew at 7 seconds. That is going to allow us to warp to the end of the game. Warp to the credits. Some people might argue that fighting Ganon is truly what ends the game, but they had that debate long ago, and they decided that warping to the credits is a sufficient end of the game. So here we're going to fight Baronade. This is pretty much just glitchless, but you'll see that I have some optimizations that you'll also see in Rando. So first we're going to Boomerang the Baronade and Nut immediately. Then we're going to Boomerang and Nut a little bit later so that we see the jellyfish. There is, by the way, a faster timer freeze that saves around 30-40 seconds. But you have to have very good movement. You essentially have to talk to Rudo, which you're going to see here. Rudo in the blue warp on specific frames where the text for the timer expiring appears. And that cancels out that warping you to King Zora. But it's very precise. And, you know, I think should only be done in, like, top runs. Or if you just know that you have enough time going into Baronade, because it makes the timer even tighter for this segment. So here, no cutscene skip. There is a cutscene skip that you can do, or it's actually a wrong warp, rather. And the wrong warp brings you to Dodongo's Cavern, but it also requires you to have 2 fairies. You might have seen it at 100%. It just isn't convenient for us to wrong warp to Dodongo's Cavern. It isn't convenient for us to be able to... it isn't convenient for us to be able to get 2 fairies. And also, if you die with a fairy, the timer expires, I believe. So that just doesn't work, and we have to watch the cutscene. So yeah, now we are going to pretty much go to fire, and we're going to finish the game. You'll see me think for a second as I think of what to equip. And I Ocarina items and play Bolero. One of the two Plurp songs we get. And you'll see that I am going to go to fire. There is a slightly faster way of entering fire, which involves a ledge clip on the left side, but I just opt to climb the ladder a little bit and lose a couple of seconds. Now if you remember Fire Temple, you'll know that in the room where you get the first key, you talk to Darunia, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna go deal with Falvagia, you try to get the hammer, and I am skipping talking to Darunia using a camera manipulation with the trade item. And as long as I don't look at Darunia, I have to be very careful not to look at Darunia, I don't really have to talk to him, which loses time. So you'll see here in this next room that a lot can go wrong in this bridge lava room, I guess you could call it. So again, I only have about 32 seconds of leeway with 4 hearts. There's a little bit more with 5 hearts. But you'll see I do very specific movement to make it so that I get through as soon as possible without the timer expiring. Because if the timer expires, it's very bad. Because I basically have to... if I die, then Eyeballed Frog turns back into Prescription, and then I have to go back to King Zora, freeze the timer again. It's just a lot can go wrong. So, you'll notice I manipulated the camera specifically there to make it so that I could climb one of those moving platforms and get to here in the nick of time. The next part is what I would say is probably the hardest part of 4-Heart Fire. I fail it a lot. You also note that if I talk to any of the Gorons, specific text triggers timers in this game. That text is one of them, so if I trigger the text, the run is pretty much over. You'll see I have very specific movement here, and I do a lot of timer stops with a cutscene item, the Eyeball Frog, in order to make it so that the heat timer is delayed enough so that I can get through this room. Again, pushing this block, very, very slow. If they didn't have this block here, it would be a lot safer. And you'll see here that I do some backflips while the block is going up, and I pretty much only have 2 seconds left before I die and lose probably about 20-30 minutes. But I get through it successfully. Here I'm going to do a block clip, and I'm pretty much going to skip all of the boulder maze. So in this Fire Temple, there's a boulder maze that you have to go through, and you have to collect 2 keys, and then you have to go through the lava room. We're not doing that. We're just going straight to the lava room. We only need 1 key. Fire Temple is another one of those temples where you do have to get the item in it, because the only way to defeat Falvagia is with Hammer, and VC actually works around this by doing a glitch called Bottle Adventure, similar to Reverse Bottle Adventure, where you can get a different item on B than Master Sword. And so they get Hammer on B, and essentially just do a boss key skip from the beginning of the dungeon. But here, on N64, we need to do a few things differently than VC does, because we don't have stick as adult. Stick as adult crashes. You can equip swap it as adult, but it crashes on N64. So, stick as adult crashes on N64, and stick as adult on VC allows you to skip the adult door of time, and then also dupe a bottle over the stick icon on your B button so that you can do the glitch called Bottle Adventure and get different items on B. Trust me, if N64 had to do the VC route, it would be a lot slower. We'd probably have to open the door of time by RBAing Odd Potion, and that would be very slow. So you'll see there I made quick work of that maze using a Hess. I also made quick work of that flare dancer by using crotch stabs with the Master Sword. Fairly straightforward. Pretty typical. Now we're going to get the hammer, and we're going to do a boss key skip, which you can do here. Similar to a lot of other boss key skips, you clip out of bounds, and all the loading zones in the temple still exist. They're just, not... And all the rooms exist, they're just not visible. So if you get out of bounds in a specific way, you can get to the boss. And I am going to do this with a Hess. I'm going to clip out of this corner, and then I am going to jump slash and equip hammer. Again, this is a very stressful part of the run because we only have 32 seconds to get through that room on the lower level and push the block. And we also only have 32 seconds to fight Valvagia. And the way we do that is essentially Valvagia has multiple hitboxes. She still has hitboxes from the holes, the little holes that she comes out of. And so we can use that hitbox to put explosives on and damage her. Damage her even though she's not there. Her hitboxes are still there. And so you'll see I got a pretty good spawn here because that means I can pretty much just explode 9 chews. You can hear that they hit her because you can hear her going. And then because of those 9 chews, we pretty much one cycle Valvagia. And now all that's left is to warp to the credits. And again, the way this warp works is you are supposed to be going to the pretty much the volcano exploding cutscene and all the people in CAC kind of being shocked by it, right? And kind of affected by it. But the going back to King Zora with the timer expiring, you can essentially warp to the credits because it offsets the cutscene a different amount. And as you see here, were in the credits. And so that is All Dungeons No SRM. Sorry if this was a little awkward. Just kind of was off the cuff. But yeah, I hope to push this time to about sub 120 in the coming year or two and go from there. So I'm not going to wait for all of the credits to end. Thank you for watching. You can give me a follow on twitch.tv/the__consultant. Yes, I know it's a weird name. But yeah, thanks for watching and happy speedrunning.